They told me for years there was no money in podcasting. Well, they were all wrong.
Sure.
Favorite team all time and currently. We'll do
Okay.
MLB and Japan. I don't know if Japan's gonna be the Tigers, clearly, but like MLB.
Okay, so MLB, favorite team of all time. Well, I would say like probably not even the Blue Jays, even though they are a Canadian team. I don't know if you're aware of this or if there is such a thing in America where there's this kind of like anti-New York sentiment amongst people who are non-New Yorkers. Well, there's a big anti-Toronto sentiment amongst most Canadians who are not in that region. And so Toronto was the team simply because they were the only Canadian team. But before that, it was the Expos. But I would say the team that I kind of followed or cheered for silently would be the Minnesota Twins, because geographically they lined right up with us. They were just south of us. And so that was my team.
All right. Great organization.
Puckett, Kent Herbeck, Dan Gladden, all that.
Herman Killebrew, was he on the Twins?
He was, but I think that was before my time.
Okay, fair enough. Hey, Twins, they were good in the 90s, early 90s. They won the 91 World Series.
91 and I think 87 as well. They won. So, yeah.
Man, I can't believe I just pulled that out of my ass. The 91 World Series was the Twins. That was like an educated guess on my part.
Good job. Good job.
Do you still follow Twins? Twins still your favorite team currently? Like favorite team to watch in MLB?
You know what, truth be told, I don't watch a lot of MLB simply because of the time zone difference and my schedule, because the games are on like mid-morning here. So if I'm not at work, I'm usually at home with the kids. But and then the other thing is, because I don't actually have the MLB channel, I would be relying on Japanese TV, and they'll broadcast games that feature Japanese players. And so right now, Kenta Maeda is with the Twins. So we'll get the occasional Twins game, but obviously, you know that they're going to show more Shohei Ohtani than anybody else. And so,
he's a phenom.
I mean, I still like the Twins. I'll still look at how they're doing the standings and stuff like that. But just the opportunity to watch them is not there.
They're not a bad club, man. They had some pieces. This Achilles heel is every time they make the playoffs, they play the Yankees. That's just how it's been for like the past 10 years. And anytime they make the playoffs, they play the Yankees and they lose in 4. That's just how it works.
And it's crazy. It doesn't matter how good the Twins are that year, how bad the Yankees are. It's almost like, well, when you see those names lined up together, you just know what's going to happen, right?
Yeah. It's honestly, the Red Sox have the same thing with the Angels. When the Red Sox were on their tear in the early 2000s up until like 2011-ish, like I'd say they're playing the Angels in the ALDS and Sox are going on. They're playing the Yankees. Nail biter. They're playing the Indians. Well, who knows what's going to happen, right? And then they end up winning the World Series. And I have to go to high school. I have to go to school the next day. It's terrible. So favorite player, all time and currently, American and Japanese.
Oh man. Well, for Japanese players, can I pick 2 for all time even?
Of course.
Okay, so Ichiro is one that, like, I don't know how you can not like that guy, you know, both as a player and just as an individual. Just such a unique guy in all facets of, you know, his personality, his approach to the game, all that kind of stuff. Love Ichiro. And then of course Ohtani. He's very different from Ichiro as far as personality and just makeup and playing style and everything, but how can you not be attracted to that guy? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
definitely. I would say Ohtani would be one of my tops.
Yeah, me and Phil talked about Ohtani extensively on our previous podcast. You know, we talked a segment about like him being the face of baseball. And it's like, no, he is the face of baseball. He's on the cover of MLB The Show, which is coming out probably around the time this podcast is being released. So you can listen to this podcast while playing the game. I'm going to be playing on my Switch. I'm very excited.
Awesome.
Yeah, he's incredible. And he's doing something that hasn't been done in 100 years, which is unbelievable. So I'm excited to see him continue growing as a player. I'm excited to see how long he continue to keep up pitching and hitting, because I don't think he's going to be doing that for much longer. Personally, I hope he does, but I just don't see it being plausible.
It's really hard to predict what's going to happen there, but honestly, yeah, I mean, he's determined to do it. He's dedicated to it, where like, I don't know Babe Ruth's history or anything like that very well, but I don't know how dedicated he was to keeping himself in good physical shape, or how, you know, insistent he was that he wanted to do both. But, you know, with Ohtani, I think the drive is there, you know, and that's a really big part of it. I mean, he lives, breathes, eats, sleeps baseball. And so whatever it takes, he'll make all sacrifices to make sure that he can do that. And so I'm looking forward, just like you, to seeing how long he can do that.
I mean, personally, I'm banking on a solid 5 years. I think if you can do it for another 5 years, it's going to be phenomenal, and you have to pick one or the other. I'm not questioning his character or his fortitude. I'm questioning the fact that his body is eventually going to give out. 'Cause it's a very different game today. It's more physical, it's more athletic, and the talent is way different than the game was that long ago. Then again, pitchers back then pitched every 3 days, sometimes every other day. So people back then were a lot crazier too. So I don't know. We'll see. I love Shohei Ohtani. I think he's great for baseball. He's great for the sport, and he's fun to watch, which is the most important thing. He's fun to watch. So give me your fondest baseball memory as a player, fan, however you want to describe it.
So I've got a couple of, I guess, baseball memories from watching the game from the stands. And one of them would be actually, I think it was like my third ever MLB game at the Sky Dome, which is called the Rogers Center now, or have they changed it again? I'm not sure.
Twins. Yeah, that was Sky Dome.
Yeah. So it was the Blue Jays against the Indians. And I remember I was at the game. It was an extra innings, John Olerud walk-off home run. And we were actually up in like box seats, and it was just like super exciting. I got so excited. I jumped up and I slammed my hands down on my buddies' backs, and one of them was scared. He said, I felt like you were going to push me over the edge. So that was a great game. It was unbelievable.
John Olerud, that is a name I haven't heard, and I don't know how long. He used to wear the helmet in the field. Yep. Utility man. He could play everything. First, second, third, short, outfield, wherever you need him to be, he could be. He was on the Yankees too.
Was he? I'd forgotten about that. I kind of choose to forget stuff like that. But
he was a utility man for the Yankees in the mid-2000s. Shout out to John Olerud, wherever he is on the world. John Olerud. All right.
Love it. Yeah.
That's a great memory.
So that's from North America. And then in Japan, I've been to a couple of really good games. Well, more than a couple at Koshien Stadium, which is in my background right now, home of the Hanshin Tigers. But the most unforgettable would be the time that I saw them go from down 9-0 to winning the game 12-9. That was just unforgettable experience.
Do you remember what inning they were down 9-0 in?
Yeah. So it was against the Hiroshima Carp. It was they scored their 9th run in the top of the 5th.
Okay, so what halftime?
And then the Tigers got one in the bottom of the 5th, and then in the 6th and 7th is when they really rallied for just a boatload of runs.
Let's think about baseball, man. That's why baseball is different from every other sport. One, because the defense has the ball, right? That doesn't happen in any other sport. But two, you always have a fighting chance. Like, you as a defense have to finish the game, whether it's on the field or at bat. You have to finish the game. It's not like football. You can run the clock, or overtime rules where you score a touchdown, you don't get a chance to get the ball back with a coin toss. Right? Or basketball, Michael Jordan say never lost a game, he just ran out of time. Baseball is no. You're putting him away. Doesn't matter if it's 14-0 or 16-14. Like, that's just the beauty of baseball to me.
Yeah, you're still gonna get X number of at bats. So yeah, there's no such thing as, well, there is momentum, but not in the sense that you literally get no chances. You're always gonna get that chance. Yeah. So I was actually sitting in with some visiting fans. There's kind of like a visiting fan section. I was kind of surrounded by fans of the visiting team. So I was kind of jeering my own team. I was kind of yelling out at them. I was like, "Give me my money back," stuff like that. And then when the Tigers got their first run, the fans around me kind of cheered with me. They're like, "Oh, good for you! Congratulations, you got a run!" But by the end of the game, man, they were just stone silent. It was such a thing of beauty.
Yeah, nothing's better than seeing, like, being at a home stadium and you're the visiting team, and if something happens, you see the whole stadium just go. You can hear a pin drop. It is. And also on the flip side, being that visiting team, like, I remember like one time in high school, like, I was just having a really bad week, just feeling this really shitty, but I had Yankee tickets, or Sox Yankee tickets in Fenway. And, like, I was supposed to go with someone, but he couldn't go last minute for some reason. He couldn't go. So my dad was like, "Let's go." Me and him. So me and my dad went. And Yankees had a lead going into the 9th. And this was like a September game. Yankees weren't making the playoffs. Sox were already in. It didn't even matter. But, we were first baseline under the grandstand, really great seats. And the Sox walk it off in the 10th. And me and my dad are just sitting there, just head down. The stadium's going crazy. Oh, like crazy. Stadium shaking. Because Fenway shakes. Fenway's an old building. Like you hear the people above you stomping on the grandstand, like piece of paint falling down your face, like people going nuts. And as much as I hated it, you look around and go, shit, man, this is pretty cool. it's still pretty cool seeing 40,000 people lose their mind because I hate Red Sox fans. I hate them to my core, but they're dedicated and they love the game. They love their team. So the deep part of that core, there's a lot of respect.
Yeah, you got to be props to the fans that they're not fair weather. They follow the team, win or lose, and I love that as well. I love that about the Hanshin Tigers. I mean, the fans are just core. As I said, like they went through a really dry spell without anything to cheer for. I mean, there was a 17-year spell where they finished in last place in 10 of those 17 years, but the fans just kept on coming.
Yeah, I tell this to a lot of people too. They're like, when it comes playoff baseball time, I kind of like root for everybody because, I like all the teams. It's like, well, yeah, I'm a Yankee fan, right? They're like, well, why don't the Rays win the World Series or your division? It's because the Rays are a great team. They're a young team. They don't have a big budget. They are everything that's right with the state of baseball. They do it correctly. I want them to succeed because above being a Yankee fan, I'm a baseball fan. I love baseball. Also, fuck the Dodgers. So that's just how it works. So speaking of ballparks, you got a beautiful one behind you. Favorite ballpark of all time, American and Japanese?
Well, the Japanese one is right behind me. I mean, there's it's the king. I mean, it's the oldest ballpark in Japan, built in 1924. We haven't touched on this, and I don't know if we want to sidetrack, but there's an awesome high school baseball tournament every year, national tournament held at this stadium, actually both in the summer and in the spring. But that was the purpose of this stadium being built, was to host the National High School Baseball Tournament, which, as I said earlier, amateur baseball came before pro baseball in Japan and was, and arguably still is, more popular. So this stadium, man, I don't know if you can see it a little bit there, but it's an all dirt infield.
I was just gonna ask that. I was like, is that all dirt? That's very interesting. Never seen that before.
Yeah, well, all the stadiums used to be all dirt. But every single other stadium in Japan has kind of modernized itself, if you will, I guess, with budget and stuff like that, right? Like in the early days, there wasn't a lot of money when it came to building the stadiums and maintaining them and stuff. But because this is such an iconic ballpark, and the high school kids all play on all dirt infields wherever they're playing all across the nation. And so it's not to replicate what they're used to, but it's because it's so iconic now. I mean, every kid dreams of playing at Koshien Stadium. So they're keeping it the same. There's no way they're ever going to make it a grass infield, ever.
Honestly, I love it. I love it. Don't do it. It's old school. It's different. It's unique. Don't fix what doesn't need fixing.
Yeah. And you don't have to be like everybody else. That's for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
So, and that's true in baseball and in life anyways. So favorite ballpark in North America or in the world? I haven't been to a ton, but I definitely I enjoyed Safeco when I was there. I could probably list you on one hand, though, the stadiums that I've been to in North America. So there's not a lot to choose from, but Safeco was a good experience for me. I want to get out to, as many MLB stadiums as I can, though, someday.
Yeah, no, me as well. So that's a good segue to the tour you do. So tell me about the tour. Goes around the Japanese ballparks. Like how close are they in proximity to each other? Because obviously Japan's one island, two islands, few islands.
It's four main islands, and there's ballparks on 3 of the 4. So there are 12 NPB teams. 5 of them are located in the greater Tokyo region. And so you can see almost half of the ballparks just probably they're all within an hour of central Tokyo. So that's kind of, I guess, good in a sense. And actually recently this tour has opened up just a Tokyo only option, I guess, if you will. So originally this started in 1999, and they had originally set it into 3 kind of sets. There was the main tour, the See It More, and the See It All. And so you can imagine what that means, but the main tour was 6 ballparks, See It More was 9, and See It All was 12. And so you're starting in Tokyo, generally speaking, and then you're making your way around Japan, going to one home game at each of the teams' home ballparks. And, there's a few days off in the middle where you can go check out sumo or whatever you want to do. Like if you wanted to check out some other aspect of Japanese culture, there's time to do that as well. But the main focus of the tour is baseball. And so the operator of the tour is American and living in America. And so he's coming over here. But then I kind of got hooked up with them when I one time offered my services, and they said no thanks, but then they had an extra ticket to the game because somebody was sick or somebody bailed on the tour or whatever. So I went along with them, and the operator of the tour, I didn't realize this, but he was kind of putting me to the test. He just said, like, do you want to join us? And I basically, like, I kind of guided them to the park. And then during the game, they just asked me questions about what's going on. Like, who is that guy? Or why do they do this? Why do they do that? How come Japanese baseball has this? And I answered every question, I guess, just because of my knowledge and interest in the game. And afterwards, he was like, man, do you realize, like, you're exactly what we need? And so now whenever they come to Japan, I generally just stick to my area, like my part of Japan. But when they come through my region, I'm kind of the local guide for them. So it's a lot of fun. It's a really cool tour. And Will, man, you need to join it sometime for sure.
I will, 100%. Because that sounds absolutely incredible. Like, literally, I'm going to get off, once we got this call, I'm going to call my Freddie Rankin. You'd be like, yo, save up for Japan. Because one day we're going. Do you see mostly tourists on this tour, or is a lot of, like, I guess Japanese, I want to say Japanese families, like, because that's a great vacation to do. If someone's like a Japanese family, they, their kids love baseball, you just go around tour, all different stadiums, or is it more tourism?
It's all tourism, actually. Like, I don't know if I've ever seen a local Japanese person join the tour.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's almost exclusively people living in America. Occasionally we'll get people joining from other parts of, like, maybe Southeast Asia or other countries, but it's generally speaking America, Canada.